The sound came first, that deep, groaning moan of the earth when it's about to break apart. Then everything began to shake. It wasn't just the buildings trembling, it was the entire world gasping for breath. In those chaotic seconds when glass shattered, walls cracked, and people screamed, a man named Daniel Hughes was not running away like the others. He was running toward the danger. If you're new to Soul Spark, make sure to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe, because this is a story that will restore your faith in humanity. Daniel was a 38-year-old single father living in a small town just outside Los Angeles. He wasn't rich, not even close. He worked as a mechanic at a small garage, fixing cars from sunrise till night, trying to give his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, the best life he could. She was the only light left in his life after his wife, Hannah, passed away 3 years ago from leukemia. Every night before bed, he'd tuck Lily in, brushing her golden hair from her forehead, whispering, "No matter what happens, I'll always take care of you." But life had a strange way of testing that promise. That morning, the day of the earthquake, Daniel was working under a worn-out Ford in the shop. The radio was playing some old rock tune when suddenly the ground started trembling. At first, it was small, like a passing truck, but within seconds the tremors grew violent. Tools fell from shelves, cars rocked on their lifts. A deafening rumble filled the air. The radio crashed to the ground, and the mechanic next to him shouted, "Get out! Everyone out!" Daniel rushed outside, his hands covered in oil, his heart pounding. Across the street, the earth split open in a jagged crack. The sky seemed to swirl in dust and debris. People screamed as buildings crumbled, sirens blared in the distance. It was chaos. Then through the cloud of gray, Daniel saw a car crushed under a collapsing overpass, a red sedan with someone trapped inside, pounding on the window. Without thinking, he sprinted toward it. "Sir!" "Don't!" someone yelled from behind. But Daniel didn't stop. He ripped off his jacket, used it to shield his face from the falling dust, and crawled through broken glass toward the car. The driver, a middle-aged man, was pinned inside, blood trickling from his temple. "Help me!" he gasped, eyes wide with fear. Daniel tried the door, jammed. He grabbed a crowbar from the ground and pried it open, ignoring the pain in his arms as aftershocks rattled the street. He pulled the man free just as the rest of the overpass gave way, narrowly missing them both. They collapsed on the sidewalk, coughing, choking alive. When the shaking finally stopped, Daniel helped the stranger to safety near an ambulance. But while rescuers tended to the man, Daniel's phone rang. It was his boss. "Daniel! The garage is gone. Roof collapsed. Everything's destroyed. I'm sorry. Man, we can't reopen." The words hit like another quake, only this one tore through his heart. His job, his only source of income, gone in seconds. By the time he got home, covered in dust and bruises, Lily ran into his arms. "Daddy, I was so scared," she cried. He hugged her tight, burying his face in her hair. "It's okay, baby. We're safe. That's all that matters." But as night fell, the weight of reality set in. Bills, rent, food. He didn't even know how he'd keep the lights on now. Still, when Lily asked, "Daddy, will everything be okay?" he smiled and said, "It will. I promise." Even though he wasn't sure how. The next morning, the neighborhood was quiet, except for the sound of helicopters overhead and distant sirens. Daniel was sitting on the porch with a cup of stale coffee, staring blankly at the horizon when he heard an unfamiliar sound. The deep, smooth purr of engines. 1. Then 3. Within seconds, the street outside his small home was lined with cars. Ferraris. Red, black, silver, blue. 10 of them gleaming in the morning sun like jewels dropped from heaven. Neighbors came out, whispering, eyes wide. "What's going on? Whose cars are those?" Daniel stood confused. Then a man stepped out from the first Ferrari, tall, mid-50s, wearing a crisp suit and a grateful smile. His face was familiar. Daniel's heart skipped. It was the man he'd saved. The stranger approached, his eyes glistening. "Mr. Hughes, I didn't even know your name yesterday. You risked your life for me. A man you'd never met. You saved me when everyone else ran. I can't let that go unacknowledged." Daniel shook his head. "Sir, you don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would do." The man smiled sadly. "No, not anyone would have. I've seen how people react in chaos. You're different. You're the reason I'm alive. And I found out this morning you lost your job because of it." Daniel blinked, embarrassed. "It's fine, really. We'll manage." But the man gestured to the Ferraris. "These aren't for show. I own the company that makes them. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel froze. "My name is Adrian Moretti." The man continued. "I run Moretti Motors, and every one of these cars represents a life you've changed today." Daniel frowned. "I don't understand." Adrian smiled softly. "Each of these cars will be auctioned. Every cent will go to rebuilding this town and supporting families who lost everything. But one of them—" He pulled a set of keys from his pocket and handed them to Daniel. "One of them is yours." Daniel stared, speechless. I can't accept this." Adrian shook his head. "You already have, when you chose to save me." The crowd erupted into applause. Reporters arrived within minutes, cameras flashing. Daniel stood there, tears welling in his eyes as Lily peeked from the doorway, her small voice breaking through the noise. "Daddy, did you get a car?" He laughed through his tears, kneeling to hug her. "No, baby. We got hope." In the days that followed, news of Daniel's bravery spread across the country. Donations poured in for earthquake victims, inspired by his story. The garage owner even called back, offering him a new role when they rebuilt. But Adrian had another offer to head a new foundation for disaster response, funded entirely by Moretti Motors. Daniel accepted, not because of the fame or the money, but because it gave meaning to what he'd gone through. He realized something profound: sometimes life has to shake you apart before it can rebuild you stronger. Still, there were quiet nights when he'd sit on the porch, watching Lily sleep through the window, remembering the fear of that day, and the grace that followed. Before we close this story, if this moment touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Soul Spark. Your support helps more stories like this reach the world. Months later, on a warm evening, Daniel drove his Ferrari, not to show off, but to pick Lily up from school. As she climbed in, she looked around in awe. "Daddy, are we rich now?" she asked with that innocent curiosity only a child could have. Daniel smiled, eyes misting. "We've always been rich, sweetheart. Just not in money, in kindness, in love, in second chances." The car rolled down the street, the setting sun reflecting off its sleek red hood. Neighbors waved, birds sang again, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt since his wife's passing. Peace, because sometimes, when the world falls apart, it's only making room for something beautiful to rise from the rubble.